Lecture 42, Groundbreaking Medical Advances on the Horizon Introduction. The medical frontier in the shadowy realm between what we know and what we've yet to discover lies the future of medicine, a landscape so transformative that the very concept of treatment, as we understand it today, may soon become a relic of the past. Welcome to Groundbreaking Medical Advances on the Horizon, where we'll journey to the precipice of human innovation and peer into a future that once existed only in the realm of science fiction. The pace of medical advancement has not merely accelerated, it has undergone a metamorphosis. What once took decades now materializes in years, what required years now emerges in months. We stand at the threshold of an era where disease itself may be redefined, where the boundaries between technology and biology blur into irrelevance, and where the impossible transforms into the inevitable. Over the next half hour, we'll explore 5 domains where the veil between present and future grows increasingly transparent. These aren't mere incremental improvements. They are paradigm shifts that will fundamentally alter the human experience of health, disease, and mortality itself. Precision medicine revolution, the human genome, 3 billion base pairs encoding the blueprint of your existence, once cost billions to sequence. Today, that same process costs less than a modest television set. But the true revolution isn't in reading this code, it's in deciphering and manipulating it. Precision medicine abandons the one-size-fits-all approach that has defined medical treatment since its inception. Instead, it whispers a tantalizing promise. What if your treatment was designed exclusively for you, for your unique genetic makeup, for the specific molecular aberrations driving your disease? This isn't speculative fantasy. For patients with certain forms of cancer, precision medicine already manifests as salvation. Consider Emily Whitehead, who in 2012 became the first child to receive CAR T-cell therapy for leukemia. Her immune cells were extracted, genetically reprogrammed to recognize and destroy cancer cells, and then reinfused, a living drug created from her own body. After facing imminent death, Emily remains cancer-free today, over a decade later. But what lurks beyond the horizon makes even these advances seem primitive. Artificial intelligence platforms now sift through billions of data points to identify patterns invisible to the human eye. The AI system DeepMind AlphaFold has solved one of biology's grandest challenges, predicting protein structures with almost perfect accuracy, a breakthrough that accelerates drug discovery from years to days. Soon, your digital twin, a virtual replica of your physiological and genetic makeup, will allow doctors to test thousands of treatment combinations before a single molecule ever enters your body. The era of medical trial and error will fade into historical curiosity, replaced by treatment certainty that borders on the clairvoyant. And perhaps most beguiling of all, epigenetic reprogramming, where scientists have begun to reverse cellular aging itself. In 2020, researchers demonstrated that a combination of growth factors and proteins could safely restore youthful gene expression patterns in human cells. We're not merely treating disease, we're redefining the biological clock. Regenerative medicine, breakthroughs the human body's capacity for self-repair, has always been both miraculous and maddeningly limited. A paper cut heals perfectly, while a severed spinal cord remains forever divided. This disparity has haunted medicine since its inception, until now. Regenerative medicine doesn't simply treat tissue damage, it erases it. It doesn't manage loss, it reverses it. And its methodologies, read like incantations from an alchemist's grimoire. Consider the work of Dr. Anthony Atala, who in 2006 stunned the world by implanting the first lab-grown bladder into a human patient. Today, his team cultivates more than 30 different tissue types. But even this remarkable achievement pales against what's emerging now. 3D bioprinters that deposit living cells layer by microscopic layer, creating functional human tissues with embedded vascular networks. The implications stretch beyond comprehension. A heart attack would no longer mean permanent cardiac scarring. Printed cardiac tissue could simply replace the damaged area. End-stage liver disease would no longer mean waiting for a compatible donor. A patient's own cells could be reprogrammed, multiplied, and constructed into a perfect immunological match. Perhaps most enigmatic of all are organoids, miniature, simplified versions of organs that reproduce key aspects of structure and function. These ghostly approximations of human organs grow in laboratory dishes, allowing researchers to study disease and test treatments on your tissues without ever touching your body. The crowning achievement approaches rapidly: the ability to regenerate entire complex organs on demand. Wake Forest researchers have already demonstrated functional lab-grown kidneys in animal models. The organ transplant waiting list, that grim lottery where thousands die while waiting, may soon dissolve into memory. Nanotechnology in medicine: what if your treatments could think? What if molecular machines, thousands of times smaller than a human cell, could patrol your bloodstream, detecting and repairing damage before symptoms ever manifest? Medical nanotechnology transcends the boundary between the mechanical and biological. These are not drugs as we understand them. They are programmable systems that operate at the scale of individual molecules. DNA origami: the precise folding of DNA strands into three-dimensional structures, now allows scientists to create nanoscale robots that can carry drugs directly to cancer cells while bypassing healthy tissue entirely. In 2018, researchers demonstrated nanorobots that could cut off blood supply to tumors, causing them to shrink within 24 hours. Nanoparticles are being engineered to cross the blood-brain barrier, that seemingly impenetrable fortress that has historically blocked treatments for neurological conditions. Once across, these particles deliver their therapeutic payload directly to affected brain regions, revolutionizing treatment for everything from Alzheimer's to glioblastoma. The diagnostic potential is equally staggering. Nanoscale sensors can now detect biomarkers at concentrations as low as a single molecule per sample. Cancer might be identified when it consists of just a few dozen cells, rather than the billions required for current detection methods. But perhaps most enchanting is the concept of programmable matter: nanoparticles that can rearrange themselves into different configurations based on biological signals. Imagine injectable material that solidifies into bone exactly where needed, or self-assembling neural scaffolds that guide nerve regeneration after spinal cord injury. The line between technology and biology doesn't just blur, it vanishes. Brain-computer interfaces: the human brain, 100 billion neurons forming quadrillions of connections, the most complex structure known in the universe. For millennia, it has remained largely inscrutable, its inner workings hidden behind bone and blood and mystery. That era of neural opacity is ending. Brain-computer interfaces, BCIs, establish direct communication channels between the brain and external devices, bypassing traditional neural pathways. The implications ripple outward, challenging our very conception of human capability and limitation. In 2019, researchers at the University of California developed a system allowing participants to control a computer cursor through thought alone. By 2023, Synchron had implanted its Stentrode device in multiple patients with paralysis, enabling them to text, email, and shop online using only neural signals. For those with paralysis, BCIs offer liberation from physical constraints. A paralyzed person can now control robotic limbs with the same neural patterns once used for their biological arms and legs. The prosthetic doesn't simply replace. It responds to intention, completing the broken circuit between mind and movement. Beyond motor control lies the even more tantalizing frontier of memory enhancement. In 2018, researchers demonstrated a neural implant that improved human memory performance by 15 to 25%. The device monitored brain activity, recognized patterns associated with optimal memory formation, and delivered precisely timed electrical stimulation to enhance the process. The philosophical questions loom as large as the technological ones. When the barrier between thought and action dissolves, when neural signals can flow seamlessly between biological and silicon substrates, what becomes of our definitions of self, of agency, of the boundary between human and machine? AI and robotics in healthcare in operating rooms across the world. Surgeons now work alongside mechanical counterparts whose precision exceeds human capability. The Da Vinci surgical system, with its submillimeter accuracy, has performed over 10 million procedures. But today's surgical robots are mere precursors to what awaits. The next generation will operate autonomously, adapting to unexpected findings and making real-time decisions that optimize outcomes. In 2022, a robot performed laparoscopic surgery on pig intestines without human guidance, significantly outperforming human surgeons in precision and consistency. Artificial intelligence has already demonstrated diagnostic capabilities that surpass those of experienced physicians. An AI system developed at Google Health can detect breast cancer from mammograms with greater accuracy than radiologists, including finding cancers that humans missed. But perhaps most transformative is the shift toward predictive, preventative healthcare. AI systems analyzing thousands of variables, from genetic markers to sleep patterns to environmental exposures, can now predict disease years before symptoms appear. A study at Mount Sinai demonstrated that their AI could predict the development of Alzheimer's disease with 90% accuracy, up to 6 years before clinical diagnosis. Virtual health assistants, perpetually vigilant and infinitely patient, monitor vital signs through wearable sensors, detect subtle patterns that presage disease, and intervene before illness takes hold. One such system reduced hospital readmissions for heart failure patients by 45%, simply by detecting minute changes in heart rate variability that preceded decompensation. The physician of tomorrow becomes less diagnostician and more interpreter, translating between AI insights and human experience, bridging the gap between algorithm and empathy. Medicine transforms from reactive to proactive, from treatment to prevention, from intervention to prediction. Conclusion: the transformed medical landscape, we stand at the confluence of revolutions: genomic, regenerative, nanoscale, neural, and artificial. Each alone would transform medicine. Together, they herald its complete reinvention. The timeline for these advances varies. Some, like advanced precision medicine and surgical robotics, already penetrate clinical practice. Others, like complete organ bioprinting and autonomous nanomedicine, may require another decade. But their emergence isn't merely possible, it's inevitable. Perhaps most profound will be the shift in our relationship with mortality itself. When organs can be regrown, when neural degeneration can be reversed, when nanomachines can repair cellular damage before it accumulates, what then becomes of aging? Of natural lifespan? The medical advances we've explored don't simply extend life, they transform its quality. They don't merely treat disease, they redefine health. They don't just alleviate suffering, they challenge its very necessity. As we close, consider this. Throughout human history, medicine has been fundamentally reactive, responding to illness once it manifests. The approaches we've discussed today invert this paradigm entirely. They are anticipatory, regenerative, transformative. The boundary between possible and impossible has always been permeable, shifting with each generation of discovery. Today, that boundary dissolves before our eyes. We don't merely approach a new era of medicine, we witness its birth.